So we've just come out of an early morning full rehearsal of both choirs, Chorus Niagara and the Brock University choirs, for our Verdi Requiem coming up. And it was a really terrific rehearsal. I'm very pleased, and I think you're going to be equally as pleased when you get to hear this performance. The other exciting thing about this performance is our wonderful soloist, and I'm thrilled to be sitting right here, right now, with our soprano, St. Catherine's own Jocelyn Fralick. Hi, Joss.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, a little tired, but no, I'm fine. We go back a long way, Jocelyn and I, because don't even want to say how many years we go back, but you were with Chorus Niagara when we had our high school choir, the side-by-side high school chorale.
Yeah, so I was in my grade 10 year at the St. Catherine's Collegiate, so I was 15. And that's my first season.
Goodness. And then I found you in Toronto, and you came to sing with the Orpheus Choir as a Cedric Scholar, and then you moved on and you went to Europe, and you studied in Amsterdam, and there's been this miraculous transformation from your lovely fluty soprano to a dramatic soprano who's been singing Wagner and Richard Strauss and now Verdi. What's that like to actually get the voice in shape for that kind of experience?
It's a lot of work. It was a big change. Like you said, when I moved to Amsterdam, I started working with a teacher there who we really connected and kind of found a really great working relationship, and were able to take the sound, I think, to a new level. And then now it's just wonderful. I get to work on all this big repertoire that I grew up listening to and I grew up loving. So it's really a dream come true to get to work on it and sing it.
Now the difference, of course, with the Verdi, in a degree, they say it's his best opera, in a sense, is that it's not like Richard Strauss and isn't like Wagner in a way. Of course, it's like Wagner, but the Verdi style has a different kind of, I think, vocal energy and vocal line.
I think Verdi, his operas, they feature this big, heavy singing, that you were talking about in Wagner and Strauss, but they also feature this really long, beautiful, floating lines. There's a lot of soaring melodies that come out that make it really difficult as a singer, because it's kind of, you have to be many different types of singers to take on this role. It's not just the loud singing that Wagner is. Not that Wagner's only loud, it's also musical, but really Verdi takes that to the next level and takes it to the extremes. And you have, in the last movement, you have the soprano floating high Bs as well as chest voice low As and Bs, which having that range in not only one production, but in one movement is really incredible.
That's startling. And you know, the thing about the Verdi Requiem is you sing with the other singers at various times, the quartet and the duet and trios, but Verdi saves the soprano to the very end for this really dramatic final movement, Libera me, deliver me. And as soon as the movement starts, you're sort of shot out like a cannon when you scream, Libera me, Domine de morte eterna. You've been sitting there during the previous movement, and it must be kind of scary to sort of stand up there and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you gotta go.
I think there are a lot of scary moments in this piece, but yeah, the Libera me is one of them. But I think it's so easy to get involved and get really into the character of the piece that it takes that fear away. It's so beautiful, it's so expressive. The dynamics on the page are scary, but what I love about Verdi is that it really is, I think you always used to say, it's a mood. A piano is a mood, and I totally agree with that. So once you maybe take away a little bit from what's written and just let it kind of live in you and really sing, it becomes a lot.
It's opera. Voice, and more voice.
Yeah.
And one of the most beautiful moments, I think, well, there's two of them. There's one is when the trio is on and you come in, you sing the word said, but. Said, remember that moment, which I have yet to hear because we haven't rehearsed that yet. That's a magic moment. But the other magic moment is in this final movement, Libera me, where the chorus has been building and building and building, and then the orchestra gets very, very quiet and comes in a cappella. The choir sings unaccompanied while you float above us singing Requiem, Rest Eternal.
I think it's a point where you really rely on the other musicians on stage. It's the beauty of this piece is, yes, I'm singing floating above, but there are 100 singers below you, and you kind of can rely on them to give you that support and create the space for you to just really soar.
Which we did, I think, and we're going to hear that now. there's another movement in this final movement of Libera, a moment where it becomes much more agitated when we start singing that the judgment day is coming, dum veneris, and all of a sudden we see that fire coming from the soprano. Was that a bit of a startling for you all of a sudden to have to leap in on top of all the singers and sing dum veneris?
It's such a thrill.
Yeah.
Many other words for it other than that. It's so exciting to come, especially after this really these moments of really of real tranquility and calm, just to come in. It's great.
Is going to be a challenge for us, and we haven't found it yet, is how to end the work. The work is not one of these typical requiems where we're left with a sense of great optimism. There is a sense of hope, but Verdi was agnostic, and I think he was always questioning his own faith. And you listen to recordings of this work, sopranos all treat it differently. Some just sing that final Libera me Domine, some sort of bark it and growl it out. What do you think you're going to do?
It's a great question. I think for me, especially with my choral background, it makes so much more sense to me to really that she is part of the choir there, right? This is not the shining solo moment where it should be the soprano heard over all. So I think a really like a dark covered sotto voce color is where I'm headed with it.
Good, I look forward to hearing that, because I agree with you. You're part of the ensemble, but you're also, I think, this sort of personification of the individual. You're the micro and we're the macro.
Yeah.
And we follow after you. So we'll take our cue from you. We'll see what happens. People say to me frequently when we do these large works, well, why are you doing it? Why is it relevant today? I don't know if you've got any thoughts about why this piece from 1874 should be relevant now, 150 years later.
I think for me, this music inspires such profound reflection, and I don't think it has to be from a religious point of view. I think that can be just reflecting on your life. If you listen to this music, I am filled with such kind of awe and wonder, for lack of better words, but it really allows me to reflect on things that are going on in the world right now. And I think it's perhaps, it continues to be even more applicable and more relevant with what's going on in the world. There's so much conflict, there's so much going on. I think music like this can really allow you to sort of stop and think and also enjoy the beauty of it, right? It's an hour and a half of beauty, and there's something really special about that. There's something I love about that, and definitely being a part of it, for me, it's an hour and a half of singing beauty, which is great.
And I agree with you. It's going to be a moment of shock and awe in the Dies Irae and other movements, but it's like any great work of art. It stood the test of time for 150 years, and when people hear it, I think it sort of validates the whole area of classical music. This is like going to a great play, great ballet, great theater. These are one of these works which I think justifies great music.
Yeah.
But you're right, it does speak today to all of the conflict that's going around us, and allows people to sort of sit there in reflection and be conscious of the calamity that's going on around us. And at the end, I think we will make every effort that it ends with a sense of optimism and hope, even though it ends very quietly and a sense of being unresolved still, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I look forward to next weekend with you and going through this wonderful piece of music and hearing your colleagues with us, and
absolutely.
putting it all together with the orchestra and the choirs. And I think we're going to have a fun time.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad in this, my final year, that I'm having people like you who have been very important to me in our musical life.
I think for me, it's so special to be here as well. I mean, we mentioned earlier I started singing when I was 15 with Chorus Niagara, followed Bob to Toronto, sort of, and kept singing there. And Bob gave me some of my very first opportunities. We talked about vocal change. I actually was singing alto at the time. I was the alto, the mezzo soprano, Sidgwick. Then I convinced him to let me sing soprano, and here we are. So it's really special every time I get to come back to sing with Chorus Niagara, because I really consider this where I got my start. And it's just extra special in your last season to get to be on stage. And, you know, I mentioned this is really a dream piece of mine. And so to get to sing it with you is really special.
I'm thrilled.